Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is back. Proper football is back. And I'm not talking about your Bundesligas or your K-Leagues or your La Ligas or your Premier League mid-table scraps or your relegation battles or even Manchester City against, to be honest, who even cares anymore? I'm talking about proper football. I'm talking about Liverpool Football Club, the mighty Reds, the only team that me, you, or anyone with a little bit of matter between their ears really cares about seeing, are finally back this weekend. By the time we kick off against Everton on Sunday night, everyone else will have had a go at coming back into Premier League action. But of course, they have left the best till last, and Liverpool will be facing off against Everton at what is, unfortunately, an empty Goodison Park. I know it would have been fantastic. The atmosphere would, of course, been absolutely brilliant if this had been played in front of a crowd. It was a game that we were all looking forward to. It was also potentially the game that we were going to win the league in. Unfortunately, Arsenal put pay to those plans on Wednesday night. As anyone who watched that, they put in a pretty abysmal effort, which makes me and anyone else who was hoping that they would get a result and we would get the chance to win the league at Goodison Park feel a little bit silly, because in hindsight that was never going to happen. It's now looking like, should Liverpool win this game on Sunday, they will then have the chance to win it against Crystal Palace, which will at least be at Anfield on Wednesday evening. But in the meantime, there are of course this massive 3 points to get, and it feels like so much is on the line in this game, and it feels like this might actually be our biggest challenge of the season so far, because Liverpool have really got to hit the ground running. I think any doubt that could creep into the back of the minds as a result of any kind of negative result in this game could gradually snowball into an even bigger problem. This is without a doubt the biggest obstacle we've faced this season. Every other team has rolled over for us, Everton included, but the crisis that the club has now had to try and navigate their way through has caused more problems than any match we've played so far this Premier League season. And as we have seen, teams haven't come back exactly the same. Generally, the better teams still tend to win. Manchester City steamrolled at Arsenal, and that didn't really come as a massive surprise to anyone. They were the dominant team. They kept possession. They created some beautiful chances and stuff like that. They played like Manchester City, and we can hope that Liverpool will play like Liverpool, but it just will not be the same because the players aren't quite as fit. And in some ways, a lot of the games have looked like competitive pre-season friendlies. Players have just not quite been at their absolute sharpest. They've been 80% at best a lot of the time. Now, some players are different. Other players have come back and just come flying out the blocks, and hopefully Liverpool will have more of those players than they do have players who will take a couple games to get up and running. You think about people like James Milner, who's famed for being able to keep up this absolutely incredible physique and athleticism in and out of the season. You think he's almost potentially got to be a starter for Liverpool in this game, because you imagine he would have been, doing more than most to keep up his physique in lockdown. But from what we've seen with the players doing yoga sessions together and stuff like that, and then getting back into training as soon as they possibly could have done, it looks like the club have done everything to make sure that they are absolutely ready for this game. And of course, while it will be a struggle for us naturally, for the players, because they won't be 100% fit, Everton are in exactly the same boat. Everyone else is in exactly the same boat. So Liverpool have just got to make sure they do what they've been doing so far this season, which is to maintain that brilliant course ahead of the pack. And of course, with it being behind closed doors as well, it's not quite the same, and it was never going to be. But personally, it doesn't feel maybe quite as bad as it first seemed. I think those first games in the Bundesliga were very strange to watch. They did, of course, have absolutely no crowd noise, so you had the strange echo. It looked like watching a PE session, basically, and it sounded a lot like it as well. Thankfully, with a lot of the Premier League broadcasters, they're putting in this crowd noise, which is a little bit strange, coming from FIFA 20. It's not a perfect replication of what the matches would actually sound like. You don't quite get the lulls, and you don't get the ebb and flow of the crowd. You don't get moments where everyone's getting on the team's back and getting behind them and stuff like that. And having played a lot as Liverpool on FIFA 20, you're going to hear a lot of Fields of Anfield Road. That's basically the only chant. Throughout the whole game, it's just going to be Fields of Anfield Road, Fields of Anfield Road, Fields of Anfield Road for the entire 90 minutes whenever they want it to sound like the Liverpool fans are singing. So if you like that song, brilliant. If you don't, you might want to find a way of watching it without the crowd noise. But it's definitely better than nothing. And I've found as the Premier League has come back as well, it's a bit better than the Bundesliga, because you know all the players, you know all the drama as well. We had the Man U Tottenham draw last night where there were loads of subplots here and there. There was as much going on off the pitch and behind the scenes as it felt like there was going on the pitch. And that's what we love about football. That's what we're here for. It's not just about the action within the 90 minutes on the pitch. It's everything that goes on around that and contributes towards it it and creates the brilliant drama that is the Premier League. I'm starting to sound like, you know, I'm in an advert for it or something like that, but of course we're all very, very excited to have it back, and it really does feel like football is getting to a point where it is properly back now. And of course Liverpool playing on Sunday night at 7 o'clock will make a massive contribution towards it as well. And if you didn't know already, if you're a UK viewer and you haven't got Sky Sports or BT Sport or anything like that, this game is also free to air on Sky's Freeview channel Pick. This isn't a sponsored thing or anything, I'm just trying to help you guys out because I want as many people to be able to see the game as possible. I have no idea what's going on in other territories. I know I've got plenty of international viewers, so hopefully, you know, you guys know exactly what you're doing when it comes to watching the game. But if you're in the UK and you don't have any subscriptions, then check it out. It should show up somewhere in your TV guide and you will be able to watch it no matter who or where you are. So that is obviously absolutely fantastic as well, because it is hopefully going to be a brilliant spectacle. So as for team news going into the game, Jurgen Klopp did his press conference via Zoom yesterday and he confirmed that pretty much everybody is going to be available. There was a big doubt about Mohamed Salah because he was missing a couple of training sessions. That really, to be honest, shouldn't come as a huge surprise because of course players are gradually building their fitness back up, and you often see this where it's also something that happens in like the really congested parts of the season where certain players who may be a little bit fatigued or carrying knocks miss out on sessions, or they train alone or something like that. It's just a way of making sure that they don't aggravate any potential problems that they could have. I'm sure that's the reason why Mohamed Salah was pulled out of training, and not because he has any kind of injury that's going to keep him out of the Merseyside Derby. And Jurgen Klopp thankfully confirmed that. He did the same for Alisson Becker and Andrew Robertson, who also had slight question marks over their availability over their heads going into this game. Unfortunately, the only player that isn't going to be available for this match is Xherdan Shaqiri. He's still carrying, I believe it's a calf problem. Jurgen Klopp said he's not that far away, so hopefully we will see some football from Shaqiri between now and the end of the season, because of course, should Liverpool wrap the league up, and as I said, if things start to go even ever so slightly pear-shaped after this derby match, then we could start to worry ever so slightly that things could get derailed quite badly. But hopefully Liverpool maintain the steady course, and hopefully we do get to a point where the league is wrapped up and we can start to bring in squad players, both players like Shaqiri and Origi and Minamino, lads who haven't had too many minutes this season, and also youngsters like Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones and Nico Williams, and all those kinds of lads will hopefully see some more football. But unfortunately, Xherdan Shaqiri will not be able to play any part in the game on Sunday evening. Apart from that, we will also have 5 subs available to us that can be made in 3 like separate instances, so you can't do all 5 at once or anything like that, but you can't do all 5 separately as well. At least 2 of those substitutions, if you want to use 5 of them, have to be as double substitutions, if that makes sense, so you can get those 5 players on and off the pitch within the 3 allocated slots. So we're probably going to see a lot more rotation as well. Hopefully Liverpool's squad depth, which I think is greater than Everton's, will have an effect on the game as well. You know, if it's a little bit cagey and it gets to the last 20 minutes and we're hoping for someone who can come on and open up the game, I think we're more likely to have someone like that on the bench than Everton are at the moment, and I'll come on to them a little bit later and their injury issues. But for now, of course, it's time to work out who's going to start for Liverpool in the game. Of course, Alisson Becker, barring any potential problems, will be starting in goal for Liverpool. Didn't feature in the last couple of games before the lockdown and the league was suspended and everything because he had that little bit of a problem. But that is way in the past now, and he will thankfully, hopefully, be starting in between the sticks for Liverpool. Ahead of him, the defence is one that pretty much picks itself. I mean, it's quite difficult to do all of this at the moment because typically you go on previous games in terms of both which players look fit and sharp and also which players are in form, what kind of systems are working and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we don't have any evidence of that sort of thing for the last 3 months, and unfortunately, I'm not part of the Liverpool coaching staff, so I don't get to see any of the training sessions. I don't know much about who's been impressing and who hasn't and stuff like that, apart from what has been sort of fed out into the press or Jurgen Klopp or any other coaching staff have said in press conferences and stuff like that. So it's quite difficult to really predict exactly how we're going to line up, but given the fitness state of players and also taking the opponent into account a little bit, we can at least make some educated guesses. And I certainly would be surprised if we went with anything other than Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk as the centre-back pairing for this game. They were absolutely fantastic right before the lockdown. They've been our best pairing so far this season. Matip was fantastic at the back end of last season, started this season perfectly well, but I think there's just something about the partnership between Van Dijk and Gomez, the way they work together, the way their abilities complement each other, and they're always getting each other out of trouble as well, which is absolutely fantastic. They don't get themselves into messes often because they're both brilliant players, but when they do, the other one is almost has this telepathic link that means he can come across and cover for him no matter what. So I think Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk are almost nailed on to start this game. Either side of them, I think there's going to be no surprises with the fullbacks whatsoever. Scouser Trent Alexander-Arnold, he has of course got to be in the side. We need at least one Liverpudlian in the side for the derby, regardless of whether it's being played in front of, you know, a baying horde of Everton and Liverpool fans, or in front of absolutely nobody, as is what's going to absolutely actually happen. I think it will have to be Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, and then Andrew Robertson, the absolutely fantastic Scottish left back, playing on the left hand side. And then ahead of them, the midfield is the one that's always been a little bit difficult to pick for this season, because it's often horses for courses. A lot of it is which players are sharp, which ones are in form. You get a lot of times where when a player gets injured, another one steps in. They tend to hit absolutely brilliant form because Liverpool have just got some brilliant players to play in the centre of the park, and then they stay in the team until they get injured or someone else does, and then you see more rotation and stuff like that. Of course, there's a pretty much clean slate here, so you imagine Jurgen Klopp will tend to actually go with who is generally the best player, which players fit into a good dynamic together, and also which ones are suited for this game against Everton. So I think Fabinho will be starting as the number 6. He had a bit of a rocky patch when he came back from injury for the month or so before the lockdown. He just wasn't the same player at all that we saw in the kind of 12-month stretch between around about, I'd say, January of last season all the way up to his injury in December against Napoli this season. He was an absolutely incredible player during that time, and hopefully he can hit those heights again. And I think Jurgen Klopp will be very willing to put him back into the side to prove that he is reaching those levels once again. Ahead of him, I think the captain has to start. Jordan Henderson is nailed on to play this game. It's perfect for him, the kind of high tempo that you expect, the amount of effort that's going to have to be put in, and also he's got that technical ability that I just still don't think he's rated highly enough for at the moment. And he is, of course, probably been Liverpool's best player of the season so far, so he is also a shoe-in for the midfield. And then the third spot, I think, is going to have to be filled by Naby Keita. There's been a lot of noise around Keita during this 3-month layoff. A lot of people saying that he looks incredibly sharp in training. There's been chat about how Jurgen Klopp thinks he's got a huge role to play next season. Now, potentially that is, you know, slightly dumbing down our expectations for this campaign, for these last 8 games, I believe. No, pardon me, it's 9 games we've got left to play. So maybe he's trying to say don't expect too much from Keita during this stretch. But I mean, he was fantastic in the friendly we had in the warm-up against Blackburn as well. He's creating goals, he's scoring goals, linking up with everyone else absolutely brilliantly. So I actually would be quite surprised if he doesn't complete the midfield trio for this game, because given the noise we've heard around him, it'd be a little bit disappointing to not actually see Keita play any role. Although, of course, with the amount of substitutions we're going to get, and I think with the way this game is going to be played, there's going to be a lot of battling in the centre of the park. So I reckon at least 2 of those midfielders are going to be subbed off at some point in the game, simply for the sake of fitness, and also because we've got players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gini Van Alden and James Milner, all 3 of whom don't deserve to not be given a starting berth in this game. Even Curtis Jones as well, absolutely fantastic in the Derby back in January in the FA Cup. Same goes for Adam Lallana. All those players deserve a start here, but that is the nature of Liverpool's squad depth. We've got some brilliant players in the centre of the park. Some of them are going to have to miss out, but it's not an hour-long match. It's not a half-hour-long match. It is a 90-minute game, and we're going to need to call on some of them to come on at some point during the game. So that's what I think the midfield's going to be. The attack, come on, there's not going to be any surprises here. If Salah's fit, if Mane's fit, if Firmino's fit, they all start. Absolutely, they all start this game. Of course, we're expecting to see some of Divock Origi because he absolutely loves Everton. He's a bit like Ian Rush in that, you know, show him a blue shirt and he will score, or he'll set someone up, or he'll do something brilliant that changes the game. So I think we will see Origi at some point, probably as a sub. The same probably goes with Minamino as well. I think I'm really excited to see what he's got to offer in these last 9 games. Jurgen Klopp spoke in his press conference about how Minamino seems a lot more settled now than he did in his first couple of months, which is no surprise. I think that first half season was not a write-off in a way, because he was still going to get games, he was still going to contribute to the team, learn the ways of the side and everything like that, but it was unlikely that he was ever going to hit the ground running and make some real contributions or establish himself in the first team. So, you know, he is probably one of the few players that has almost benefited from this situation, because I think he's had that extra time to gel now, and now that we are doing the back end of the season a little bit further down the line, Minamino, you know, he's learnt the language a bit better, he's integrated into the squad a little bit better, he probably knows the ways of the side, he's built up his fitness to match those of his fellow players as well. So I'm expecting better things from Minamino than I would have done had the lockdown and the coronavirus not completely derailed the season. But I certainly don't think he's going to start this game, because I think we do have to go with that absolutely fantastic attacking trio that has brought us so much joy over the last 3 years. So taking a little look at Everton then, while Liverpool have got a pretty much clean bill of health when it comes to injuries, barring that little knock to Xherdan Shaqiri, Everton have got a few problems in terms of the availability of their players. Morgan Schneiderlin is not going to be available for this one. Fabian Delph is also not going to be be available. Yerry Mina is sidelined and Theo Walcott is injured as well. And while they can still field a reasonably good starting 11 without those players, as we have seen over the first few games since the Premier League has come back, not only do players tend to get injured in the early stages of matches, and often rotation does have to occur earlier than managers want to implement it, but also, you know, a lot is now placed on players coming on as impact subs, because the players that start tire a hell of a lot quicker. It happened this evening with the West Ham game when they played against Wolves. Wolves brought on Adama Traore with about half an hour to go, and it turned out to be an absolute masterstroke, because he just had an extra few yards of pace, an extra few muscles of strength on every other player on the pitch, and he dominated that West Ham defence, and he played a huge role in setting up both of the goals that won Wolves the game. So hopefully, you know, as I said, if this gets into the last 20 minutes and it's looking a little bit tight and Liverpool need to change the game and Everton need to change the game as well, say it's 0-0, 1-1 or a tight 1-goal lead for either side, Liverpool have got plenty more talent at their disposal than Everton will. We've got at least 3 subs that can come on and wouldn't really knock down the quality of the team at all. You know, looking at defence, Matip could come in, it wouldn't change it too much. Milner, Wijnaldum, Oxlade-Chamberlain could all come into that midfield. Origi, with it being Everton, it doesn't make a huge difference if he comes on for any one of the attackers. And also you've got players like Minamino, who is a bit of an unknown quantity. Harvey Elliott, who I think I'm really hoping I see a little bit more of in this last 9 games than we maybe would have done had all of this not happened. Hopefully he gets some game time as well. I think Liverpool have got plenty more options on the bench as well. It's not just about the quality of the players, it's about the qualities of the players, if that makes sense. It's what they can offer you. Liverpool have got a more diverse set of talent on the bench. They can bring on Origi if they need a presence in the air. They can bring on Minamino if they need someone to be a little bit more tricky in the attack. They could bring on Oxlade-Chamberlain if they want someone to burst out midfield. Milner if they want to shore things up. Matip on as an extra centre-back if it's the last 5 minutes and we just want to defend high balls into the air or something like that. We've got more options than Everton have at their disposal, and I think for that reason alone, I'm really expecting us to win this one. There is a lot of doubt about the way that Liverpool will perform and the way Everton will perform, because neither side has played any professional football at this level for 3 months, and as a result I'm not willing to really make a huge prediction on how the first hour or so is going to go. But I think if it comes down to it and the pressure's on, I would absolutely 100%, as always really, back this Liverpool team to drag it out of the fire. And of course, Everton do have a strong mental block when it comes to playing us. You know, if they don't win this game, then it's almost guaranteed going to be 10 years since the last time they beat Liverpool. The last time they beat us was October 2010, and after this I can't really see us playing another game against Everton before that landmark. So this is absolutely huge for them. They do not want that record hanging over their head, and I think the lack of the crowd will probably actually help them more than it will help us, because Everton get in their heads when it comes to the Merseyside Derby, and you see the way the crowd responds to this Merseyside Derby. They get up for it and they almost put too much pressure on the players. If things go wrong, they're going to start booing and stuff like that. They're going to throw their toys out the pram. But also, even when the crowd is actually trying to get behind those Everton players, they almost shrink into their shells, I think, because they're worried about disappointing them. They're worried about letting them down yet again, because it has happened time and again for Everton Football Club, whereas it's almost the opposite for Liverpool in derbies, where the crowd pushes us on. The crowd reminds our players of what this means, and I think we're going to suffer ever so slightly as a result of that not being there, and I think Everton will benefit a little bit. So I've said this time and time again with the recent derbies, because it always seems to be the case, but if they're ever going to beat us, it's got to be now. It should have been in the FA Cup when we played the kids. It should have been in the league when we played the reserve side. It should have been way back in, I think, 2018, when our players were battered and bruised from a Champions League semi-final campaign, and yet we could barely field, 11 players, let alone a decent starting 11, and Everton still didn't beat us. They do have this thing where when they're presented with the golden opportunity, they get in their own heads and they're unable to take advantage of it, and maybe with the lack of the crowd, that could change. Hopefully it doesn't. I'm still backing Liverpool to win. I reckon we're going to come away with all 3 points. I have no idea what the scoreline's going to be like. It could be tight and cagey and a 2-1 or a 1-0. Liverpool could blow them away and come flying out the blocks, as they did in their friendly earlier on against Blackburn and beat them 6-0. We could just smash Everton off the face of the earth. That's what I want to see. But at the end of the day, what we all really want to see is 3 points. So let me know what you think is going to happen in the match down in the comments below. Apart from that, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'm really happy to be back uploading on a regular basis now that the football's back. There will, of course, be post-match videos after the derby, pre-match videos for the upcoming games, post-match videos for that, and any other news specials around what's going on in the football, because football is back, and that means I am back and here to stay as a result. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button down there if you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the old videos if you want to see what the channel's done in the past. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well. And I'll see you on Sunday evening after we've hopefully smashed Everton in the derby. Until then, bye for now.